Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 728 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with Sally Gimon, and she's been an English teacher in Poland and a business analyst for a tire company, but she sells insurance too, and I got a way to sell a lot of life insurance. I'll tell her, see what she thinks about it. But her claim to fame is real estate investing and the trust that saves you lots of money. So if you like to save money in taxes, you better listen to this episode. All right, I hope you didn't miss episode 727. That was Emmanuel Rose teaching us how to market to Gen Z. Oh, man, I don't even like that generation, but he kind of told me how to market to them anyway. And he was episode 727. Of course, when you want to get to a back episode, you go screwthecommute.com/ and then the episode number. That was 727. This is 728. All right, make sure you follow me on TikTok at Digital Multimillionaire. We've got one of the videos is hitting about 650,000 views, and I've got several hundred short training videos there for you. All right, let's get to the main event. Sally Gimon is here. She's been a real estate investor since February of 2019, and in July of 2020, she bought a bank-owned property for 20 grand. And that would go to auction for 50 grand. I think that's changed a little bit. I think it went for 64 grand, if I'm not, she'll correct me on that. And and then she knew she was going to pay a load in capital gains taxes. And this is what led her to find the Business and Beneficial Spendthrift Trust to save those taxes, or at least defer them. I'm not sure. We'll ask her about it. Sally, you ready to screw?
I'm ready.
The commute. All right. Oh, good to talk to you. Now, let me tell you my idea about it. Now, you sold insurance for a long time, right? Was that life insurance?
Correct. It was mostly property and casualty, but also life insurance.
Okay.
I'm licensed both ways.
All right. So here's my idea for life insurance. I think I could sell more than anybody in the United States. So what I would do is I would call in death threats to the family the day before my appointment. I would sell like crazy. Don't you think that would work?
I possibly could, or you'd be arrested. I'm not sure which.
Well, yeah. Well, there's always pros and cons to everything. So
True story. The way I got my life insurance, I was working for a military insurance company doing property and casualty, and they asked us to do term insurance quotes, and then they would send out an adjuster.
Mm-hmm.
So we would get the wives of military members and like, oh, I'm only 110 pounds. And it would come back that they're 320 pounds, and we'd have to change the quote. And it was a disaster. 6 months later, they're like, no, we're not doing this anymore.
Well, so let's take you back a little bit, because I do understand you were a military brat, and your
Yes.
parents met, I think, overseas. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Small town in Alaska called Bethel, Alaska, 400 miles north of Anchorage.
That's where they met? I thought they were, your mother's from Ireland, isn't she?
Correct. My mom was supposedly on her way to Australia, and she got sidetracked and ended up in Alaska and met my dad. And he decided he was going to marry her the first day he met her.
Oh
He
my
loved her
God,
accent.
that's a cool story there for sure. Now, this stuff about I understand. Sadly, your mother got sick, and this
Yes.
kind of was the impetus to get you into this field. Tell us about that.
My parents were living in Phoenix. They drove cross country to my oldest nephew's wedding. By the way, I have to go back to listen to 728 because all my nieces and nephews are that generation.
Okay, no, it's 727. You're 728.
727. I'm 728. Sorry, 727. Along the way, unfortunately, she got sepsis of the blood poisoning. She was on a ventilator for 18 months.
Wow.
She got better. She got home. Thank God my dad was military because everything was paid for. A true story. She got sick late October 2018. I came back to North Carolina to see for Christmas and New Year's Eve. And on New Year's Eve, she was on the floor of 24 patients on ventilators. And 4 different families took their loved one off the ventilator so they didn't have to pay Medicare the next day for 2019. That to me was just
Yikes.
so sad. It made me angry and sad at the same time.
Oh, wow. Well, one thing that I understand your mother turned you on to was she taught you to love books.
Yes,
And
yes, very much.
there's a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murray. And I've heard you claim that it accidentally impacted your life. How does that work?
It really did. My great aunt Kitty, interesting lady in Ireland, she twice caught the largest salmon. So the best fisherman in Ireland, Waterford, had to do a new trophy saying the best fisher person. Her entire philosophy was like, if I have to think about it, let me just take a nap. She take cat naps. So I read the book by accident. That sounds funny, but I had taken the book out of the library when everything shut down for COVID. It was a part of a trilogy, and when I read the book, I just started putting thoughts into my mind on how to do things. Like, just literally this week, I was very frustrated trying to figure out how to do a newsletter on LinkedIn. I'm like, just think about it in your sleep. Next morning, I get up at 5:45 in the morning, and I go right to LinkedIn, and I figured it out. I'm like, okay, this really does work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used a visualization. I don't know if that would be called that or not, but I had an interesting thing happen. I can't really swim, but I had this
Oh,
nightclub near a resort lake, and all the people in the nightclub always wanted to take me on their boats and stuff. And so the whole summer they tried to get me to water ski, and I was wearing like 2 life jackets in case one malfunctioned because I can't swim. so so and I'm just, yeah, like I get up, in less than a second I crash into the water this whole summer. And then finally the last day of the summer I got up and went a mile down the lake, and that
wow.
was the end of the summer. And so I just thought, my mind just thought about this all winter, and then the next summer they took me out. I got up and went 5 miles down the lake the first try. There's no
Congratulations.
reason that happened other than the mind, thinking about how it was done right over those over and over again all winter, and then going and doing it. So I'm a big fan of that visualization and the mind, how the mind does stuff.
It's true that it's amazing what the mind can do for you, as long as you give it access to do what it needs to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you say access, do you mean proper nutrition or exercise? Well, I mean,
Proper
what's
nutrition, trusting your mind. I mean, it's kind of funny. I've told several people to read the book, and one of my friends, she it's kind of interesting. She wrote a bot to scrape your 1,000 leads on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and she goes, every time I stumble on it. She goes, I go to sleep thinking about the idea, and next morning it's done. And she's like, I've never done this before, and she's writing all kinds of programs now.
Very powerful. Now, didn't that lead to another book, What the Rockefellers Do thing?
Correct. I had read the book before I joined my real estate group. Garrett Gunderson wrote the book. He's an instructor in my real estate group. One of the reasons I joined, I had called a friend when I got my mom's November 2018 Medicare bill. Just to let you know, it was $172,000.
Wow.
At the time, I was working as a Medicare broker, and I had an $8,000 a year deductible for my health insurance. I'm like, I need to change something.
Right.
So when I called my friend Glenn, he was telling me about people in the real estate group, the classes, and he goes, "Oh, there's a gentleman called Garrett Gunderson." I'm like, "Oh, Sacred Cows and What the Rockefellers Do." He goes, "You read them?" I'm like, "Of course I read them." Garrett Gunderson had to change the name. It's now called What the Rockefellers Do, but it talks about the Rockefellers Trust. It's 7 generations old. There's 7 generations long. Almost 400 people in it. And when I found out about the capital gains, I knew I was going to pay over $7,100 on that deal. I had 13 months to figure things out, but I researched it. I went with the Rockefellers, and then I found the law firm that does offer this trust. It's legal, it's patented, and it's in the IRS tax code, 643B. And I became their client, and then I started talking to the attorney who helped me. I said, I'm in a real estate group. Could I start teaching this to my real estate friends? And he's like, sure, we just have to have you sign this contract. So I am now a licensed contractor for the law firm, and helping investors and helping people who make 1099 income save federal taxes. I become their best friend. It's a wonderful job to have.
All right. Now, I've over the years, I've been hit up by a lot of things, especially
Mhm.
in the boom of asset protection people that were on every street corner, trying to tell you.
Correct.
Um, my worry about this kind of stuff is it's not had a 250-year history like a corporation as being tested in the courts. How would you respond to that?
To tell you the truth, this comes from England back when King Henry VIII was chopping off his wives' heads. I mean, I don't want to give you the year because I'm dyslexic. I'll give you the wrong year. But he started the Church of England. He went to go tax all the lords and ladies of England, saying, "Hey, you got to pay for my church." The lords and ladies went back to the Magna Carta, even older than King Henry VIII, and they came up with the trust. When it's come over to the United States, it's contract law. Your LLCs, your S corps, your C corps are statutory law. The law firm I work on behalf has inherited a trust that's turning 355 years old this year. So I understand you being a little bit hesitant about it because you've never heard about this. It's not talked about in schools. Um, I'm going to throw somebody under the bus. If you know who Grant Cardone is,
Yeah.
he's a real estate guru. There's a recording of him out there saying that he doesn't want people to know about the trust because if you're looking at a real estate deal, Tom, that's maybe only 7%, and you're like, ooh, that rate of return's not that good. He can swoop in, make the 7% rate of return on that, plus the 23.8% saving capital gains.
Hmm.
So he's making over 30% rate of return. And he's like, I want to keep that as a secret. I'm like, because of you, Grant Cardone, I'm going to talk to as many people as I can.
Well, I don't know the guy personally, and then, but yeah, I mean, some of these super big names. There's other ones I won't mention that are just clearly, I mean, that technically, I guess, would be taking advantage of something, but there's other people in the real estate field that are just totally ripoffs. I mean, I witnessed undercover recording of one of the big name guys claiming a $40 million profit on a mobile home park, and then the investigative reporters went out and it was just a vacant land. They just made it all up to sell their
Oh,
coaching.
wow.
This is so many real estate scams out there for sure.
Hey,
Um,
my story, just give you a real quick story. I was allowed to talk in my real estate group for 18 months. I had the gentleman who ran it was my business partner. He lied about something. He lied about money. And when I confronted him, I sent a simple text saying, "Hey, what happened with this deal?" The next day we had a Zoom, and he blamed me for everything. And his last words to me were, "You'll be nothing without me." I'm like, okay, those are fighting words.
yeah, and I won't be in jail either without you.
Very true.
See, actually, my bigger concern with this, now that you told me about if it goes bad, all those new IRS agents, I think they are allowed to cut your head off. So,
Well, to tell you the truth, most of the new IRS agents, I know it's in my bio, so many of the IRS agents have retired, and how they do taxes, because I've gone down this rabbit hole, they send them through a computer, and the only time a human touches it is if there's something on the tax return that does not make sense. So, with this, when you start your trust, we have an entire team that works with you. You're going to file a 1041 federal tax return, not a 1040 that most people do.
mhm.
There's special rules for the 1041, and we have that with the price of the trust, you have a retainer for the CPA, and they'll file your first year 1041 free of charge for you. So we want to make sure you know exactly what you're getting into. You're doing everything correctly because we don't want people to be messed up or saying this was a ripoff or being mad at me or anything like that.
Well, how much does it cost to set this up? And then is this a yearly thing you need to keep up with, right?
It's just one-time cost. There are two different trusts. One's a business trust for 1099 income earners. Both of them are spendthrift. So the business spendthrift trust and then the beneficial trust is for investors. I don't care if you're a real estate investor, crypto miner, stock market, or Forex. The beneficial trust will defer. You had a question earlier. It will defer it forever until the tax codes change. It's a contract. Your contract would never change. So capital gains, interest income, dividend income, rental rolls, and royalties are deferred forever with this, and from generation to generation. So one trust, either the business or beneficial trust, is going to be $20,500. And then to have two trusts, maybe you start a trust today and won't do the second trust until 10 months later or 3 years later. The second trust would be, both trusts would be $37,000. I mean, it's if you're making more than $50,000 on a deal, it's almost going to pay for itself right then and there.
Right.
And it's year after year after year.
Now, does this
Now,
have to be a commercial property, or can it be your home if you bought a home for 50,000 and sold it for 200?
here's a true story for having your home. You partially put it into the trust until you're going to put it up for sale, because in case you need to get a HELOC or you get solar panels on it. But when you are looking at your own personal home, if you're married, you can claim $50,000 in capital gains. If you're single, I'm sorry, $500,000 capital gains, or if you're single, $250,000 in capital gains. I did have friends, a friend from college, I was at their wedding. They had a house down in Tampa Bay and they sold it July 31st, August 1st. And their house, they did get they were going to have to pay more than that in capital gains. So they got the trust, and then he does a lot of stock market trading and things like that. So he's using the trust several different ways. But most people, when they have their own personal home, probably won't run into it. But then again, who knows where real estate's going with how crazy it's been the past few years.
Well, yeah. And so none of this can be retroactive, right? Is that correct?
Unfortunately, no.
It goes on the basis of what your house is worth now?
Correct.
It
Correct.
starts
So,
that way.
my friend Roger and Robin, the couple who I'm talking about, they bought their townhouse on an island in Tampa Bay. It's a beautiful place. They bought it, but they bought it 6 years ago for $350,000. They sold it for $1.3 million dollars. So I mean, people wanted to live there, movie stars and everything else. And so he knew what I was doing, and they he's making money with doing his stock trading and everything else, but that was the impetus for them to get the trust, because they knew they were going to pay too much in capital gains on that house. He got moved by the bank up to Columbus, Ohio. They live in a gorgeous house that was only $250,000.
Well, I can tell you that I don't know if you work out of your home or a small office or
Yes.
anything, but I think you should move your office to your brother's brewery and then get people all drunked up and get them to sign up there.
My brother has a brewery. He does very well. He wins medals for his beer. I don't know if you remember an old, what was it called? One of the beers about bitter beer face. I don't like the taste of beer. Give me whiskey, give me gin. Just beer is a nasty taste to me.
I agree with you. And I owned a nightclub. I had the second biggest nightclub in the state for 6 years. And even the fact that I didn't like the taste of beer, I was allergic to alcohol. So I didn't drink one drop of anything. I ate all the pizza. But I mean,
but see, you didn't have to worry about drinking up all your profits.
Exactly,
there,
right.
so.
That's the thing, yeah. So we got to take a brief sponsor break. When we come back, we'll ask Sally what a typical day looks like for her, and she'll tell you how to get a hold more information on this and how to get a hold of her. So, folks, about 25 years ago or so, I kind of turned the internet marketing guru world on its head, and that people at my level were charging 50 or 100 grand up front to teach what they knew about internet and digital marketing. And I knew a lot of these people. They'd be hiding out in Mexico if you gave them 50 grand up front. A lot of them were ripoffs. So I said, it's too risky for people to put that kind of money up, especially small business people. So I said, I'm going to charge just an entry fee, and then I'm going to tie my success to your success. So for me to get my 50 grand, you have to net 200 grand. Well, people really like this, and here 25 years later, the thing's still going strong, 1,800 students and tens of thousands of them in my audiences around the world. And it's a very unique program in that it's all one-on-one. You get an immersion weekend here in the Great Internet Marketing Retreat Center in Virginia Beach. We have our own TV studio. We shoot marketing videos for you. Everything is one-on-one. You're not lumped in with people more advanced or less advanced than you. And you also get a scholarship to my school. It's the only licensed, dedicated internet and digital marketing school in the country, probably the world. So check it out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. No high pressure here, just extremely high value. And I'm not going to disappear on you because I don't get my big money. I want my 50 grand. So you'll know I'll be here to help you. And in addition to my whole staff that you can make appointments with, and if you have assistants, they can make appointments with me and my staff on your behalf. So nobody else on earth gives you this kind of service. So check it out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. All right, we're here with Sally Gimon, and she is a person that avoids beer, which is a good good thing right there. So Sally, what's a typical day look like for you as a real estate investor and a trust salesperson?
I moved to North Carolina because of that one deal you talked about where I bought for 20,000 and sold for 64,000.
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina has a very strange rule. It's called an upset bid. So if you're in Virginia, you go to an auction and you're bidding against 5 other people and you win the house. In Virginia, that's your house. In North Carolina, 101 counties. Each county has different rules. You have to go in person to the clerk of the court to find the binder where you can do an upset bid. So I do this once every 2 weeks. I go to 5 different counties. So that day I don't take any meetings, but usually I have about 4 or 5 Zoom meetings a day. I do 6 different videos about the trust. If you're a 1099 person, if you're doing capital gains, if you're doing rental income, and I put on 6 different social media things. It's kind of a fun time because I talk to people all over the country doing all kinds of stuff. This morning I talked to a gentleman out of Connecticut who is an IT professional, making great money at 1099, but paying too much in taxes. And he's just like, help me, help me, help me. And 2 weeks ago, I helped a 69-year-old gentleman sell his 42-year-old family restaurant, and we saved him $450,000.
Wow.
That's life-changing.
All right, let me get this straight, though. You said you moved to North Carolina to go through that hassle of going to 5 counties every couple of weeks. Is that because that knocks out a lot of the riffraff?
Correct. Some of the counties might have the properties on their website, but you can't put the upset bid unless you go in person.
Why is it called upset? What does that mean?
Because I'm upsetting your bid. If you put a bid on a house for it's $10,000, I can go into the county courthouse and pay $10,750, and I've upset you, and now it's my bid. And the 10-day window, either 10 calendar days or 10 business days, now affect me. You're out of the picture.
Oh, so after 10 days, but if I could come back and do 11,000, then it keeps going on and
another
on.
750 on top of mine. Correct.
Oh, it's 750 each. All right. So, all right, but let's say I go 12,000. Then what? And that starts all over again.
You've got the clock's ticking for your 10 days, either 10 business days or 10 calendar days, and then I have to check. They won't contact me. They won't send me a letter. I have to go back and check to see if someone's upset me and if I want to upset them again.
Oh, man.
It's kind of interesting. I stay out of Mecklenburg County where Charlotte is because they're a little bit, people hide things. People are nasty. I go to some of the rural counties and they're the kindest, nicest people you can talk to. I love going to the county courthouse days. They're a lot of fun.
They probably know you there by now, right?
I guess I did it purposely, but I made them Christmas cookies and I took them to each of the now they're like, honey, here's a notebook. He doesn't need to look at it anymore. I'm like, thank you. I know who's has a birthday coming up. What's the anniversary? It's just you can't go in there and just do business. You have to go in there and socialize.
Yeah. That's pretty wild. That's for sure.
I would never have known of this if the house that I worked on. It's in Nash County, which is about an hour east of Raleigh. The paralegal, because I knew it went to auction August 28th, 2001. And I'm like, where's the money? And she's like, well, it's going through 7 different upset bids. And it was 2 people bidding against it. I didn't get paid until I want to say December 20th. So I had money for Christmas. It was perfect.
Oh, so that was your house and everybody else was bidding on it.
Correct. So I owned the house when it first went to auction. It was unfortunately, the woman had passed away. The house had been empty for almost 4 years by the time it went to auction. I mean, a nice brick house, the most ugly wallpaper you've ever seen in the kitchen, think of old Baskin Robbins, pink and brown stripes and pink and brown polka dots. I saw pictures of the house. I never went into the house. I'm like, that is so god awful ugly. It's almost pretty.
So now, have you done a course on this other than just selling the trusts? I mean, just what you told me.
I am in a real estate group where we have classes, education classes. Like going back to Garrett Gunderson, he teaches two classes in the real estate group, and I had heard of him before I joined my real estate group. But this upset bid, I just learned on my own because I had to go through it with my one property. Other people know about it, but it's kind of a well-kept secret outside of the bigger cities in North Carolina.
Well, I'm just saying you can make, this is my field is digital and course marketing and stuff that you could make as much money just doing a course once and then just selling it over and over and over again. so
Exactly.
So that's what I like. So that's a typical day for you on the. You do that like a couple times a month, you say?
I try to do it every 8 days in case someone's upset, because I know there's a window of 10 days for me. So I want to not make it too tight, because if I have to get money from my bank account, thank God I'm with a national bank. But some of these rural counties are very, very rural.
So the money, it's not you just bidding, and then if you win the bid, you put the money in. You have to put the money in?
When you're doing the upset bid, I should tell my secrets, but I'll tell them. When you're doing the upset bid, you only have to put 5% down.
Oh, okay, all right.
So when I am told I'm the last upset bid, I have one right now in it's called Anson County. I have 45 days to pay everything off. Instead, I wholesale these places. I've contacted,
right.
I'll be honest, it took me 3 phone calls, and I wholesaled it and made a nice $12,000 on that deal.
Yeah, and didn't have to do any fixing toilets, right?
Exactly. and the gentleman who I sold it to, he's just like, how'd you find the deal? I'm like, not telling you.
No,
so said, Tom, I tell your entire audience.
Let me tell him.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's very cool. So what's the best way for people to learn about your trust and get in touch with you?
I appreciate that. My website is thetrustisyou.com. You is YOU.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you need to reach out to me by email, it's info, INFO, at thetrustisyou.com.
Okay, folks. Go ahead.
I do a live Q&A every Monday night, 8 p.m. East Coast time. Sometimes there's 10 people on there. Sometimes there's 2 people.
It's open to the public, or they have to be in your real estate group?
Nope, it's open to the public.
Oh, okay.
My goal, I really do believe this. I originally started doing the mastermind in my real estate group in Arizona. And when I had the following out with the gentleman, I'm like, everyone needs to know this. If I can help a 69-year-old man in Kentucky sell a family restaurant and save $450,000, I mean, I got a phone call from his wife last week, happy tears, going, I don't know who the gentleman who has that TV show, Lottery Dream Homes.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to contact him because she wants a 2-bedroom condo in Florida, and they're only going to spend $450,000 for it. So we were laughing about it because her 28-year-old son brought the TikTok video. You said you're on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Brought my TikTok video to his dad, saying, "I think we can save you some money if we do this."
Awesome. Yeah, you wouldn't think TikTok would be a place you could find this kind of high level stuff. But
my second week on TikTok, a gentleman came to my Monday Night Live. He signed into the Zoom with his TikTok handle, MK, and a bunch of numbers after his name.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, put the contract in chat. And I'm like, okay. The law firm called me on Thursday going, is Michael so-and-so your client? I'm like, I don't know his name, and he was selling 2 buildings, 2 warehouses on Long Beach Port. He's going to make over $6 million on that.
Yikes.
And then long-term capital gains are 15% to 20%. One thing I want to let you know, Tom, so many people who don't know this, when you're selling a family business, like the gentleman selling the family restaurant or a nail salon or a car wash, the federal government is going to take 15 to 20% of your sale price to pay for capital gains. People aren't aware of that.
Yikes. That's can be a lot of money. It be life-changing money. Yeah.
Exactly. And he sold his restaurant March 15th. So he wouldn't have to pay for that until April 15th of 2024. I mean, maybe he won't have any money left. Maybe he's going to go wild in Florida when they move down there.
Yeah. Oh boy. All right. So it's thetrustisyou.com, info at
Yes.
the trust, and it's Sally Gimon, Gimon. So thanks so much for coming on. Very enlightening, Sally.
Thank you for having me, Tom. I try to be funny, but you're much funnier than I am.
Well, yeah, but you're smarter than me, so I think that
I would go that far.
balances out. All right, everybody, we'll catch y'all in the next episode. See you later.